You've probably heard about the new Netflix show Three-Body Problem. It's built on this really terrifying sci-fi idea. But what if I told you the scariest part isn't science fiction at all? Nope. At the very heart of this story is a real, centuries-old physics problem, one that's so chaotic we still can't solve it. So let's unpack the real science behind the show.
All right, first things first, let's talk about the show's premise, because it is an absolute nightmare. Just try to imagine this for a second. You live on a planet where your entire civilization can be completely wiped out at any moment, and not from a war or some plague, but from the suns in your own sky. Yeah, that's the messed up reality for an alien race in the show called the Santee.
So the Santee? They live on a planet that's stuck in a solar system with not one, not two, but 3 suns. And this, well, it creates a life of total, constant uncertainty. Their existence just swings wildly between these periods of relative calm, which they call stable eras, and then complete world-ending chaos, the chaotic eras. And during one of these chaotic times, their planet could get flung out into the deep freeze of space or, pulled into one of the suns and just incinerated. Not great. So because of this constant cycle of total destruction, they start looking for a new place to live. And they set their sights on Earth. Uh-oh. But this brings us to the big question, right? The whole reason we're here. Is this planetary nightmare of theirs just some clever sci-fi drama, or is it actually based on a real, honest-to-goodness nightmare that physics itself can't wake up from?
Well, the answer to that question, it lies in one of the most famous and frustrating problems in all of physics. If you really want to get why the Santee are so terrified, you have to understand the science behind what's known, pretty simply, as the three-body problem.
Okay, so believe it or not, physicists have the two-body problem totally locked down. It's solved. Think about the Earth and the Moon. Their gravitational dance is, well, it's beautiful, it's elegant, it's predictable, we can write a nice clean equation for it. But the moment you add just one more thing to the mix, like a third sun, that elegant cosmic dance completely collapses. It turns into a chaotic, unpredictable mosh pit. And when I say chaotic, I'm not just being dramatic. That's the actual physics term for it. A chaotic system is one where the tiniest, teeniest little change in the starting conditions leads to wildly different, totally unpredictable results later on. You've heard of the butterfly effect, right? A butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil and that somehow causes a tornado in Texas. Now just imagine that on a cosmic scale. The butterfly is a whole sun, and the tornado is your entire planet getting violently thrown out of the solar system. Yeah.
And here's the real kicker. This isn't some new problem we just discovered. We've known about this for over 100 years. A mathematician proved way back then that there is just no single, general, neat and tidy formula you can write down to predict what's going to happen. For almost any setup you can think of, the system is just fundamentally, mathematically unpredictable.
Okay, so now that we've got the physics down, let's put the show on trial. How well did Netflix actually do? Did they capture this deep, chaotic reality?
So here's where we get into the classic science versus drama debate. And honestly, the show gets the big idea. The core concept, absolutely right. A planet in a three-body system really would have these periods of calm, followed by total, unpredictable chaos. That part is spot on. But where they, let's say, take some creative liberties is the timescale. I mean, in the real world, a planet like that would probably get destroyed or just flung out into space way, way faster. The thought of a civilization surviving that and rebuilding over 200 times? Let's just say that's highly, highly unlikely.
Now, this is probably the question that's been nagging you, especially if you've seen the show. I mean, the Santee are supposed to be this super advanced civilization, right? So why can't they just build a ridiculously powerful supercomputer, plug in all the numbers, and figure out when the next chaotic era is going to hit? Seems simple enough?
And here's the mind-bending answer. It has absolutely nothing to do with computing power. It's not a hardware problem. You could have a computer the size of an entire galaxy, and it would still fail. The problem isn't a lack of technology. It's a fundamental limit baked into the math itself. The chaos is part of the system's DNA. You can't compute your way out of it. Now, if we want to get just a little bit nerdy for a second, mathematicians did find a theoretical solution, but it's basically useless. It's an infinite series, which means the calculation goes on forever. To get anything even remotely accurate, you'd need to calculate a number of terms that's, well, it's a 1 with 8 million zeros after it. That's not happening. And even if you could somehow do that, remember the butterfly effect? If your starting measurement for one of the suns is off by the width of a single atom, your whole prediction becomes garbage. Poof, gone. All right, so where does all this leave us? Time to tally up the points and give our final verdict on the show's science.
So the final realism score? I'm going to give three-body problem a really solid 7 out of 10. And here's why.
Look, yeah, it totally fudges the details on survival for the sake of the story. We've been over that. But it does something so much more important, and it does it brilliantly. It captures the existential terror of being trapped inside a real, unsolvable physics problem. It takes this abstract mathematical horror story and makes it feel like a real tangible threat. They made the math scary. And that's pretty amazing.
And that really leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. This whole thing is a powerful reminder that our own solar system, with its nice, stable, predictable orbits, it's like a quiet little island of calm in what could be a really chaotic universe. We just happen to live in a good neighborhood, cosmically speaking. You could say we basically won the cosmic lottery. How unbelievably lucky is that?